Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I'm your host, GameChanger. Okay, so this whole Fresh Prince CEO situation, for those of you who don't know or is watching this years down the road, there was a YouTuber by the name of Fresh Prince CEO. He apparently, allegedly, et cetera, got a woman from China who claims to be Miss China, or excuse me, Miss Asia, pregnant. Now, I want to make this clear before we even get into the main crux of the video. I don't know if she is the actual Miss Asia. And here's what I'm going to say about that, because I know it can be confusing. There's the official pageant that is recognized throughout the world, the Miss Universe. You know, first you become Miss Arizona, then you become Miss United States, then you compete for Miss Universe, but you lose that title to Miss Argentina. You know, there's that official one. And I don't even know if in that process there's a Miss North America, but let's just say in Asia, which is a much more populated continent than North America. Let's just say that a woman can become, you know, Miss Bangladesh and then Miss India, and then, you know, maybe if she beats out China, Korea, et cetera, she becomes Miss Asia, and she would be the official Miss Asia at that point. There's that, right? And then there's the other one. There's the other side of that, where a jewelry store or a clothing store or just a group of people get together and decide to have a local pageant. And then in that local pageant, there's maybe like anywhere between 50 to 100 people that are just watching. And for that day, you are Miss Asia, and they give you, you know, of the 10 women that walk the stage, and then they give you the sash, and they give you the roses, and they give you the tiara, and you take a picture, and then you tell the world, look, I'm Miss Asia. It could be one or the other. I don't know. So just to be clear, she might be, okay. You know how you have like a calendar girl. You have a calendar girl, and this one is Sweet November, right? This woman is Sweet November, and she walks around and she says, I miss November, I miss November, I miss November to everybody. But come to find out that she's not the actual Miss November, just some dude with a camera and a basement, and he wanted to meet some ladies, so he took them down to that basement and said, how would you like to be on a calendar? They said, oh yes, I would. This will help with my exposure. So he takes 12 photos of 12 different chicks that he convinced to go down to that basement, and hopefully he's, you know, he's capitalizing on the opportunity. Who knows? Bound chicka wow wow. So he attempts to do that, and then he makes some calendars and he sells them on the street of New York, you know, 3 for $5. She can also say she's Miss November, but that's not really official. It's not like an official part of any widely publicated magazine or anything like that. So it's not like, or calendar brand or anything like that. So it's not a real thing. It's possible that she's not part of anything official or real when she has claimed the Miss Asia title. That is very possible. But for the sake of this, we will just call her Miss Asia. Daisy, aka Miss Asia. And she flew in to Barbados and then later the US to be with her presumed love interest in the form of Fresh Prince CEO, who is a guy who immigrated to the US from Barbados, and he makes significant money, at least he appears to make significant money, on the Fresh and Fits podcast. So this is a woman who has traveled. In this video, I want to cover the reason why women travel out of the West and the reason why women travel into the West. Or by the West, I should also include places in the world that is more economically developed than the places that they come from. All right, so here's what I mean by that. Now, I'm going to share something with you, and I want everybody to first hit that like button. And second, I want you to know that this is fair use. Here we go.
Lifestyles. While all those trips to Dubai, shopping trips, and lavish dine-outs will have us cursing the stars, the reality of this way of life will absolutely shock you. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Instagram models of Dubai, particularly ones doing prostitution. You'll find out some pretty dark stuff. What goes on exactly? We open up Instagram to see these models posing with their amazing beach bodies and going on these expensive shopping sprees and trips. You can see them wearing Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and lots of designer wear. The question that pops up is, how can they afford all of that? You would expect brand deals and advertisements, but neither of those pay enough to finance this way of life. You'll be shocked to know that these models don't pay for the trips or the clothes. They have sugar daddies lined up in their DMs who are ready to pay to fly them in. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend a night with them. From insider reports, most of this stuff goes on in the UAE and Dubai. Hotels that are meant for princes have staff that have to sign non-disclosure agreements. Doing so prevents the staff from ratting out on the private life of the Instagram models or the life of the princes, which is why you won't find a lot of people talking about it. But the truth comes out somehow. There have been reports of Instagram models being paid to sleep with underage princes. Now that's extremely shocking and disturbing, as these women do everything and anything they can to get the bag and risk their lives in the process. There have even been reports of influence.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second. So you see where this is going. I'm going to speed it up. This is a 8-minute video, but this is a pre-recorded. I don't want to make it too long. So that's one reason that women are traveling. And that's the obvious reason, for money. They're traveling to get the bag, this Christian Dior bag that you see here, and just to show it off to other women who fantasize about having an expensive purse. I do not understand this obsession that modern women have with crap. I really don't. I do not understand the obsession that they have. It's a bag, it's a purse with somebody's name on it. Like, you're really doing all this for that, just to impress women that you'll never see. I mean, I understand that women have this insatiable desire to state to other women that my nana is better than yours. My nana's better than yours. Nah, my nana's better than yours. Like, it seems like that's their life. It's a cycle. They look beautiful to seduce men, to get the bag, to show the bag to other women. And in doing that, they meet other men, and the cycle continues until they are no longer attractive enough. And then they look at what they have done with their lives and all the money that they made, and it's all in a closet. It's all in a closet of outdated bag. 10 years from now, this woman here will say, hey, look at this bag. And the other woman will be like, oh, that's so 2024, or whatever current year is. That's just, I don't understand it, but then again, I have a penis. All right, let's continue.
Influencers or models that have made $200,000 in cash
$200,000
back to their state. But because of their fashion and inability to explain where the money even came from, they had to give it all up to customs. So everything has to be online these days to secure payments and keep anonymity.
They had to give it to customs? So they flew to Dubai on some bounce chicka wow wow. And then customs just said, yeah, we know you came here. And we know you did the work. We know you put in some work. And we know that you got worked. But I'm gonna need you to, hand over that bag there. I'm gonna need you to hand over them stacks. I'm gonna need you, I mean, this is Dubai, and I'm a real true PIMP over here. Wow. Wow. They just go home with a stretched vagina and an empty pocket. That's cold.
In the process, like payments in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other cryptocurrencies. Dubai acts as the main hub of these activities as the city provides just the right hotels. Additionally, Dubai's own princes can also be found partaking in these questionable arrangements. Some of these Arab princes spend more than what you would consider normal, as they spend over 200,000 euros per model for a visit. An Instagram influencer and model by the name of Lozado Gonzalez was tricked into dating and sleeping with a rich Arab man. And if things couldn't get any worse, she also had to sleep with his younger 13-year-old brother. Every Instagram model makes at least 5 visits per year to Dubai. God knows how much remains covered. An insider from the website known by the name First Man stated that every single rich guy would think of heading to Dubai if they wanted to let off some steam. Dubai is like the Vegas of the UAE, except it's much worse in comparison. There's a lot of things in Dubai that go unnoticed and are even ignored. The drugs, partying, and the occasional woo-hooing is much more common than you think among these Instagram models. One man going by the pseudonym First Man on Medium tracked their activities for over 3 months. They did all the math for you and came to the conclusion that whoever she was going with was spending an average of 20,000 euros on her every month. She traveled to LA, Marrakesh, Bali, and Amsterdam, all the while she was living in Dubai. This did not include the living costs, her daily and monthly expenses, or costs of maintenance that she spent. If we look at the brand deals that she makes, she basically should have 0 savings in the bank. It makes everything all the more interesting, as that means someone's definitely paying for her, or she's earning a lot more than we can imagine. One of these Instagram models took...
So it does seem like they are living a life. Like everything that's going on, the sprinkle movement, everything is, and the way modern women are acting, you know, these fresh and fit girls, they're all trying to figure out how to get like this, the top Nana chick. These are not the women that you give a like to on Instagram, and you know, because she is digitally the hottest chick that you've seen. This is the one that she envies. This is the one that she admires. You know how you like the smartest guy in your high school, you're like, okay, you know, and then he goes to a university where he's regular. That's that. These are the exceptional ones, and all these other chicks are chronically feeling broke in comparison. So they try to get the bag, as they try to get you to take them to restaurants, or take them on dates, take them to hotels, just take them to a place to where they can take a picture of extravagance so they can feel like these women, at least temporarily. Let's continue.
The bold step and came forward with her story in an interview, anonymously published on LibReddit. You'll be surprised by what she had to say about what goes on behind the scenes. She kept her identity anonymous due to personal reasons and privacy concerns. She was an Instagram model that had about 800,000 followers and was able to land many gigs in LA and California due to a few managers that she worked with. She said that she got countless messages from solicitors on a daily basis. She said that she had over 10,000 unopened DMs that she had her editors and managers go through, but she opened up the important ones. When asked about how many of these stories were true, she said almost all of them were true. She said a sheik one day DM'd her, and she was surprised that he even was the real deal or not. After making some rapport and going back and forth with him, he finally got to the point with her and stated that he was a sheik that wanted to invite her over to a party that needed to end with a happy ending, if you get what we mean. She took the experience at face value and thought he was some random dude that was pranking her. But he finally FaceTimed him and was convinced. Later, she met one of her managers over in LA, and he offered her a lot of cash to make her comfortable. She then accepted his offer and went to participate in an inappropriate party. She had parties on days 2 and 3, and privately attended to the sheik in question on the 4th day. Afterwards, it was free reign for her as she was paid in millions and went on a shopping spree with the sheik's credit cards. And that's where these models pose and take their exorbitant modeling pictures showing off their glamorous lifestyles. The Instagram model made a ton of money without any problems and went home after a happy time where she spent time with the guy she's dating. We've also heard some disgusting stories surface when it comes to Instagram influencers traveling as escorts to Dubai. We've heard stories about people...
Okay, so I'm not really mad at this situation. Just explaining what the social climate is.
Defecating or urinating on Instagram models as well, which is...
Defecating or urinating. Okay. For the amount that these guys are paying, even if that's not in a woman's kink, I could see her doing that. I could see her doing that for the money, which is a ridiculous amount of money when you think about like how much a street girl would charge for her nana.
Incredibly disgusting. There are also stories about Instagram models going on cruises with the richest of the rich on yachts. These private yachts spend weeks and months offshore and act as private communities with all the luxuries that the world has to offer. Waiters, staff, and attendants on deck have talked about yacht parties that have also gone horribly wrong. An Instagram model, which will remain unnamed due to the circumstances of her death, was on a private yacht of some influential billionaire figure, which was that are not worth mentioning at all. Few cringing. A few years ago, a website by the name of Tag the Sponsor shed light on these Instagram models. Pictures of these girls doing the most obscene stuff came to the surface. There were instances of rich Dubais pooping on these girls for pleasure. Another outrageous one was where a sheik had one model satisfy his camel. There's also one where another prince had an influencer place a live salmon where the sun doesn't shine. Of course, the girls are fairly compensated for their services. And that's all that we could fit into today's video. Make sure.
Well, all right. There you have it. Make sure you hit the like button. So apparently, one of the reasons that they travel, the real reason that they travel is to get paid to hump the camels, or camels with humps. Who knows? But there's some camel play going on. There's some salmon play going on. I never really imagined. I favor myself to have an imagination. I never really say, something, I want to take this salmon and I want to do something spectacular to it. And I want to take this Instagram model and make some tuna. I had no idea that that is what goes on in some people's mind. But hey, when you got it like that, you got it like that. So that's how they got it, and this is how the women get it. That's one reason why they travel to foreign countries. Now, that's all summarized by one simple word, and that word is money. They travel for the money. They travel for the green. The green is for the money. And the gold is for the honey. So let's talk about the other reason that they travel. All right. So make sure you hit that like button and know that this is fair use.
Gambia has a stark warning for British tourists. The West African country says British women should stop coming to the country looking for flings with younger men. That's a euphemism. The director of the tourism board there has suggested he wants to send what he calls promiscuous pensioners packing, as the country wants to attract what were described as quality tourists who come to enjoy the culture instead of sex. Well, sex tourism took hold there after the launch of budget package tours in the 1990s, with reports of young Gambian beach boys often seen assisting older female tourists, some old enough to be their grandmothers. Journalist, writer, and commentator Caroline Farrow joins me now. Hi to Caroline.
Okay. Don't want to listen to this chick again because she's on some. The only reason why she's there is because she want to say that it's wrong when men do it too. And believe it or not, there's better takes on it. I'm trying to see if I could find it. Let's see. There's much better takes on it. So yeah, that's it. That's all. So all right. But that's another reason why they travel. A lot of women travel for that BBC. I mean, or whatever race they're interested in, but apparently the women that do these type of things have a type for whatever reason. Maybe it's the poverty that's associated with the race makes them a better deal. Maybe it's Africa's proximity to Europe, because that's where these women are coming from. It could be a number of things, but they do seem to find themselves in darker nations. They do. All right, so let me play another one.
talk about the importance of love, scientific temperament, and human rights. But all of this appears to be completely ignored or forgotten when it comes to the sexual satisfaction of those Western women whose actions in poor or developing countries have caused grave human rights violation or exploitation. But enough is enough. As a woman who comes from Europe, I am not afraid to raise my voice, and I hope my voice is not silenced or ignored. Point 1. Western women and their foreign male sex slaves. When it comes to female sex tourism, it has been observed that hundreds of thousands of Western women have traveled to poor or developing countries for their own sexual satisfaction. Research by Shared Hope International mentions that these Western women who look for sexual satisfaction abroad could be teenagers or even grandmothers.
Okay, so apparently women of all ages are doing this. News media is like when it comes to this, they like to point out that the women are older, and they probably are because it takes money to do this. But it's not just old women that are doing this, and it's not just ugly women that are doing this, not just unattractive women. This is something that they say to discourage the action amongst other women. They don't want it to continue, and they know women don't want to be associated with old, just like passport bros don't want to be associated with incels or a person that can't get any here. So, they put that stigma on them before saying like, oh yeah, those guys that travel abroad because they can't get any here. They try to stigmatize it before it happens. And this is just more of that. So.
And of course, not all these women are single. But there is even more to it. On occasions, it has been seen that these female European tourists took these foreign men back home to their countries and kept them in their home. But not all stories can be expected to end well. For example, this research project mentions that many Gambian men have been brought to Europe by their female European sponsors. But since immigration laws are rigid in Scandinavian countries, these African men were often at the mercy of these European women. Not only that, it also mentions that some of these men were held as sex slaves and were shared amongst the friends of these European women.
Okay. I gotta give it to this. She looks like she's Norwegian, and she probably is. I have to give it to this Nordic woman here, or maybe let me just say European, so I'm not inaccurate. But I have to give it to this European woman here. She really knows how to paint something as a bad thing that may or may not be a bad thing. Even with the women in Dubai, even with the salmon and the camels and stuff like that, no matter what, these are consenting adults. These are consenting adults. And apparently these women from Europe are going and they're finding lovers and they're bringing him back as a consenting adult. Now, if she uses the laws of the land to force him to do things that he doesn't consent to, then that's a whole nother thing. But it seems like she's like, hey, I need you to do about 5 or 6 best friends. I think that she's on that. I don't know, as long as she don't pull out a camel, which I know that there aren't many of those in Europe, but still, as long as she don't pull out a camel, she should be good. So, yeah, keep that in mind. All right, well, let's continue.
How heartbreaking and inhuman does that sound? And this study mentions that in Sweden, a 56-year-old mother kept a 25-year-old African man at her home. But quite strangely, this 56-year-old mother would tell the African man to leave the house and go to the cinema on Sundays. Want to know why she did that? Well, the lady's grown-up children visited her on Sundays. Point 2. Money, goats, gifts, Maasai, and the Western female sex tourists. This is the Maasai tribe of Africa, an integral and a valuable part of our global indigenous cultural heritage. It may break your heart to know this, but even this beautiful indigenous community has been spared by the female sex tourism industry. Professor George Paul Mayer's article, which is available on Harvard University's website, reveals how one old white woman buys some goats and a bicycle for a 20-year-old African man she sleeps with. Not only that, she is proud she has a Maasai, but that's not all. The sexual objectification of these African tribals takes place openly, and even their traditional attire and their cultural dynamism or expressions are seen through the lustful eyes of many Western female sex tourists. Please go through this.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Okay. Actually, I do have my suspicions. And y'all can say pause all you want to, because this isn't on me. This is on them. Some tribes have genetic features that aren't shown on camera that women go for. It starts with a B, ends with a C, and then there's another B in the middle. You know, there's some like Mandingo, and then I guess there's some Maasai that's just, you know, I don't know, double Mandingo. I have no idea. But apparently they travel to find them. They travel from England primarily, because this is Gambia, and find themselves buying goats. You know, they find themselves.
But even this,
they find themselves living here. They find themselves walking the dirt path to their boo's hut with about 50 goats. Like, yeah, now what's up? Now, I will say this. I respect the goat dude more than the bag chick. Goats have practical value. Now, it's far less valuable to me being a city dweller or suburb dweller or whatever you want to call it, but I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of practical uses that he has for the goats themselves and their offsprings unto perpetuity. This is value. This is riches from his lifestyle. So, yeah, he had to lay some pipe in order to get it. So, why do women travel? Reason number 2, for some Maasai. For whatever these Maasai dudes got going on, they want some of that. They won't in on that, and they're willing to spend a little goat money on it. They're willing to say, "Hey, you got what I want, and I got what you want." And I could picture it happening too. I could picture like a white woman just saying, "Oh, you're the goat, you're the goat, you're the goat." He said, "Are you going to give me some goats?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I have to now, but I meant a different type of goat." But yeah, okay, you want some goats? Here you go. I need to pause when I start laughing. But I'm picturing that's how it happened. All right, let me move on.
and she sleeps with. Not that she's proud she has a Maasai, but that's not all. The sexual objectification of these African tribals takes place openly, and even their traditional attire and their cultural dynamism or expressions are seen through the lustful eyes of many Western female sex tourists. Please go through this text to understand how Western female sex tourists prefer those African.
The Monsoon Mamas. White women want the Morans that are dressed with Kang's body cloth and have spears. Oh my, okay. Again, consenting adults. I don't know how many goats it would cost me. It would cost for a woman, a white woman. Because, you know, people role play. People role play from time to time. But the moment she tell me to pick up a spear, that's gonna cost you. That's gonna you're gonna have to drop some goats. You're gonna have to come off some goats for that. That's nah.
Men who are in their traditional cultural outfits. Would it be right to say that these white European or Western women are preying on the poverty and the vulnerability of these African tribal communities? Point 3. Sexual exploitation of impoverished underage males by rich white European women. This research project, which was financed by the European Commission, mentions that in Gambia, some respondents have spotted women with underage men, and female tourists having sex with boys is seen as a danger for the future. And this research project explores the behavior of female tourists from the global north in Gambia. During an interview, one African man observes, "These women come here and use their money as weapons. They know that we are poor, so they use their money as weapons to get what they want from us. Sex is..."
Okay. I don't understand. Okay. The people who complain about such things, and this is also to the passport bro detractors and things like that. The people who complain about such things, I don't know if they think that they're helping or they don't care. Because taking these women away, shaming them, arresting them, if these women stop going, then who's going to give these guys goats? And I don't know if they really see it as impoverished. A lot of these tribal people are really, it's more of a cultural thing than it is a poverty thing. Kind of like the Amish here in the US. It's like, oh, y'all ain't got no TV, you ain't got no electric car, you broke. It's like, nah, it's deeper than that. But I do know that they do have like things that they find that has separations of wealth, and goats is one of those things. Now, and don't get me wrong, the underage thing I'm against, but once again, two consenting adults. She wants that. He wants goats. They're happy. Why are others interfering with this transaction?
Their number one priority. The study also mentions that these global north tourists have capacity to exploit Gambian men by fully taking advantage of unequal global power and economic structures to pursue and satiate their racial sexual desires and fantasies. Point 4. HIV, genital infections, and the Western female sex tourists who seem to be blinded by lust. It has been observed that in the Gambian tourism-based sexual economy, it is difficult to negotiate condom use, which in turn contributes to higher rates of sexually risky behaviors. And this study cites research that suggests...
Now that's interesting. And this goes back to the Fresh and Fit situation, or the Fresh Prince CEO situation. I don't know who's like saying no to condoms. I really don't. I would assume that both would say yes. I'm hoping that the woman isn't refusing it because ooh, baby, I like it raw, which, like, really? Really? I mean, there's the standard risk that comes with such actions, and then there's the greater risk that's associated with this guy is a seg worker. So why would you? I don't know.
That women on holiday are less likely to use contraception or protection against STDs than at home, and sex tourism is making this problem worse. And of course, this is despite the fact that among the sex workers, the STI rates are far higher than in general populations. The Human Rights House Foundation, which is headquartered in Norway, reported that HIV infection rates amongst the Maasai were extremely high. And this data from the World Bank reveals the prevalence of HIV in Kenya and other African countries. Despite all this...
Okay, she's really trying to push a narrative. I mean...
this data from the World Bank...
you can't really show a graph where something is going down, like down, like Disney stock. It's just going down, down. And you talk about the prevalence. Come on now, let's not do that. It seems like it's becoming less prevalent between 1999 and 2020, like significantly so. So yeah, come on now. Don't do that.
Reveals the prevalence of HIV in Kenya and other African countries. Despite all this, why are these European or Western women acting this way? After all, how can we afford to lose our scientific temperament and be exposed to all these health risks? Point 5. Foreign tourists, commercial exploitation, and the Maasai tribe of Africa. You may have seen YouTubers from Germany, the US, or elsewhere visiting the tribal areas in Africa, sometimes jumping, dancing, or hanging out with Maasai people. All this may be very interesting to watch, but of course, not many are aware of the other side of the story. It was reported that the Maasai were being forcibly evicted so that tour operators can turn their homelands into vast nature refuges for wealthy holidaymakers.
Okay, that's unfortunate. I don't know how that plays out. I really don't know. And, most people are ignorant of tribal affairs as it pertains to Gambia, most Americans at least. I don't know if, like the Quakers or the Amish, I don't know if they actually legally own the land that they are on, or these public lands, or what's going on. I honestly don't know. So that is a thing, but that's really not related to this. So I'm gonna skip a little bit.
This study highlights what has been taking place in these regions of Africa, Latin American countries, Asian countries, the Caribbean. The list is quite long. But can the global community afford to ignore the horrific sex crimes committed by the citizens of some of the so-called happiest or richest nations in poor and developing countries? Why should we not dare to go beyond our Western society's cleverly projected shiny surface under?
Okay, so you get where she's going with this. She's about to do her, her clothes, and she's doing her,
which
her mighty white woman, superwoman pose, like, like, look at me, I'm blonde. She's doing the superhero pose because, she's saving African men from getting goats, and she's saving European women from getting penis. Essentially, listen, C blocking is C blocking. It just is. C blocking is just C blocking. Two consenting adults, whether it's a woman with a fish in herself in Dubai or a man with a bunch of goats, in a hut with a white woman, like, hey, do what you like. Do what two consenting adults. That's how I leave that. All right. So why am I sharing this? Why am I talking about this? Why is this a topic of discussion? Well, the reason that this is a topic of discussion, quite frankly, is because, how can I say this? Is because this fresh situation. Where do American Black men fall under these travel desires? Well, it's kind of unique because what this has really highlighted was that women, if they could, they would travel for the best of both worlds here to the US. Here you have an Asian woman, and an exceptionally attractive one, by the way, who traveled to the US for a guy who many say is subpar looking. Though he's wealthy, or at least perceived to be wealthy, his wealth might not even match or exceed hers. She claimed to have loved him, etc., etc., etc. But the point is that an extraordinarily attractive woman traveled from Asia to get BBC and money. Think about what that means for a second. Think about how many women all across the world, and you can't travel to the richest nation in the world and expect to get something for goats. You can't. So you're not going to get somebody from England come here, which is further, as opposed to going to Gambia, to have their fantasies fulfilled. They're, and especially once they get here, it'll cost more and all that good stuff. So it's a non-starter. It's not that type of party. But it really reveals something about their carnal desires as well as their economic desires. which means that, which really highlights what's going on in their head. It's one or the other, or both at the same time. It's either and or. It's one of those and or situation. A woman from a developing country would fantasize about being here for money and or their lustful desires. But it does seem like that is a thing, and what we're experiencing, or what Fresh has experienced, is maybe just an expression of somebody who could fulfill that and did. Just the thought. And trust me, I know that it's not that there's more than just race play and dynamics going on here. I know that they have the same fantasies about white guys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe the less factor is the same, or maybe it is. Who knows? But the point is that foreign women, both developing and non-developing countries, have their fantasies that can be fulfilled here. I think what a lot of traveling men are doing is they're giving them the opportunity to fulfill their fantasies. They're bringing their fantasies to them. That is, if you are appealing to them in any way, shape, or form. Don't, if you're a reasonably appealing guy, then you can go there and be a woman's fantasy. Trust me, I have traveled. I have, they fantasize about the everything of it. The thought of, anyway, I won't get into details on that. What I will do is ask that you subscribe if you haven't already. If you'd like to become a channel member, then go ahead and hit that join button. And if you like the video, hit that like button. I'll be monitoring this for comments, so make sure you drop some. This is GameChanger 00100. Game over. Peace.